It was supposed to be just another variety show on a Sunday night. But in only 2 short years, it turned into one of the most controversial programs in American television history. The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour didn't just make people laugh, it made them uncomfortable, challenged authority, and pushed back against the rules of television. It wasn't afraid to speak the truth, even when powerful people wanted it silenced. And in doing so, it changed what was possible on screen forever. Tom and Dick Smothers didn't start out looking to shake things up. They were just 2 brothers trying to make it in show business. Their early life was marked by struggle. Their father had survived the brutal Bataan death march during World War II, only to pass away soon after the war ended. Raised by their mother in California, the brothers grew up without much, but they had each other. That bond would become the heart of their act. They developed a comedy routine that mixed folk music with sibling banter. Tom playing the innocent goof, and Dick playing the annoyed older brother. What made it work was how real it felt. Their chemistry was natural, and audiences loved it. Their big break came at the Purple Onion, a nightclub in San Francisco. They were booked for just 2 weeks, but the audience response was so strong that they stayed for 36. It was clear something about their humor connected with people. It wasn't just the music or the jokes, it was how they played off each other like 2 kids still fighting over the last piece of cake. Their success in nightclubs led to appearances on TV talk shows, and eventually, the attention of CBS. By the mid-1960s, CBS had a problem. They were losing young viewers to NBC's hit show Bonanza. So the network decided to take a risk. They gave Tom and Dick their own variety show, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour. It premiered in February 1967 and looked like any other show at first. But it didn't take long before it became something totally unexpected. Unlike other shows that stuck to safe jokes and light entertainment, the Smothers Brothers started talking about real issues: Vietnam, civil rights, government hypocrisy. It was bold, risky, and completely new for television. One of the smartest moves Tom Smothers made was fighting for full creative control. That meant CBS couldn't tell them what to say, who to invite, or what to leave out. And they used that freedom to shine a spotlight on voices that mainstream media had ignored. They brought on Pete Seeger, a folk singer who had been blacklisted for years. They featured protest music, political commentary, and jokes that made people think as much as they laughed. It wasn't just a comedy show, it was a mirror held up to America during one of its most chaotic decades. But that freedom came at a cost. Every episode became a battle with the CBS censors. Network executives were terrified of upsetting sponsors, government officials, or conservative viewers. Every line had to be reviewed. Every sketch was picked apart. Still, Tom and Dick refused to back down. And they weren't alone. Their team of writers included future legends like Steve Martin and Rob Reiner. Together, they found clever ways to push the limits, sometimes by making fun of the censors themselves. One night, The Who performed on the show. During their act, drummer Keith Moon blew up his drum kit with hidden explosives. The blast was so strong it injured guitarist Pete Townshend's ear and left the studio in chaos. It was wild, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. And that was the spirit of the show. They weren't just trying to entertain, they were trying to shake people awake. The Smothers Brothers also changed how music was shown on TV. They aired early promotional films from the Beatles for songs like Hey Jude and Revolution, essentially the first real music videos seen by American audiences. These segments weren't just filler between jokes. They introduced a new way of experiencing music on screen and brought countercultural art into millions of homes. As the show grew in popularity, it became more than entertainment. It became a symbol. For the young people protesting the war, marching for civil rights, and pushing for change, the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour was one of the few shows that actually reflected their reality. Artists like Joan Baez, Buffalo Springfield, and Jefferson Airplane used the platform to speak out. When Baez tried to dedicate a song to her husband, who was in prison for resisting the draft, CBS cut the dedication from the broadcast. That kind of censorship only made the show more powerful, showing how nervous the establishment was about the messages being shared. Even the White House got involved. First President Lyndon Johnson, then President Richard Nixon, tried to pressure CBS into silencing the brothers. The network was caught in the middle, trying to keep advertisers happy while also dealing with a show that refused to play it safe. Companies like Ford and Procter & Gamble pulled their ads. The pressure was mounting from all sides. But Tom and Dick didn't back off. Instead, they got bolder. They created sketches where censors appeared as characters on the show, cutting off jokes mid-sentence, bleeping out harmless lines, and highlighting the absurdity of the whole process. These moments were funny, yes, but they also made a point. Why was free speech okay for some but not others? Why were artists being silenced for telling the truth? In 1969, the tension finally snapped. CBS canceled the show. They said it was because the brothers missed deadlines and broke their contract. But almost no one believed that. The real reason was obvious. The network was tired of the controversy, the angry phone calls, and the political pressure. They wanted the problem to go away. But if CBS thought that canceling the show would silence the Smothers Brothers, they were wrong. The cancellation sparked outrage. Viewers wrote letters. Newspapers ran editorials. Other performers came out in support. The brothers even took CBS to court and won a settlement, proving the network had broken their contract in bad faith. But by then, the damage had been done. The Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour was gone. And yet, its impact didn't fade. If anything, it grew stronger with time. The show paved the way for a new kind of television, where satire, honesty, and political commentary could live alongside entertainment. Without it, there might never have been a Saturday Night Live, or All in the Family, or even The Daily Show. The comedians and writers who came out of that show went on to shape comedy for decades to come. The music, too, left a legacy. By giving folk and rock musicians a national platform, the show helped push protest music into the mainstream. Songs about war, inequality, and justice weren't just heard in coffeehouses or college campuses anymore. They were on TV, in people's living rooms, broadcast to millions. That kind of reach changed minds, and maybe even history. The Smothers Brothers themselves became symbols of resistance, not through violence or outrage, but through humor and truth. They didn't scream or threaten. They joked. They sang. They smiled. And yet, they scared the most powerful people in the country. Because they reminded America that free speech doesn't just mean saying what's popular. It means having the courage to say what others are afraid to hear. Even years later, the story of their show feels relevant. In a time when people still debate what can or can't be said, when media outlets are pressured to avoid certain topics, and when speaking out can come at a price, the Smothers Brothers stand as a reminder that real change often starts with one small voice refusing to be quiet. Their show wasn't perfect. Not every sketch worked. Not every episode was a hit. But what made it special was the risk. They took chances. They made people think. And they refused to shut up, even when it would have been easier to play it safe. It's not easy to go against the grain. But Tom and Dick Smothers proved that comedy could be more than just entertainment. It could be a weapon, a shield, and a spotlight, all at the same time. They didn't just make people laugh. They made them look closer, listen harder, and question what they thought they knew. If you've ever watched a show that made you laugh while also making you think, thank the Smothers Brothers. If you've ever seen a comedian take on a serious issue and get away with it, thank the Smothers Brothers. Their legacy isn't just a piece of television history. It's a blueprint for using your voice, standing your ground, and never letting anyone tell you to stay quiet when the truth needs to be heard. If this story grabbed your attention, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment below and tell us what you think about censorship, comedy, or any memories you have of the Smothers Brothers. And don't forget to like this video, because sometimes, laughter really can change the world.